everyone. You're tuned in to the Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys YouTube, and I have a very special guest today with me. I feel like you're pretty well known in South Dakota. Do you want to let us know why you are well known in South Dakota, Daymon Woodruff?
As executive vice president of the largest music festival in motorcycling and the best party anywhere, also known as the Sturgis Buffalo Chip.
Tell us a little bit about your family's passion for motorcycles and how did this turn into the Buffalo Chip? Because, especially if you're in the States, if you're American, you ride a Harley, you know what Sturgis is. So tell me how did this all start?
It happens to be that Sturgis Buffalo Chip has been throwing a good party and having a good time for 40, we're going on 43 years now. My father started that campground and venue as 1981 was, I think it was, believe it was established. 1982 was the first year that we had an event. It's we create smiles out there. That's our main goal, is to throw the best party anywhere so that people can avoid dying of grumpy face syndrome.
So obviously your dad had started this over 40 years ago. Where did the passion for motorcycles start? Is it because he grew up in South Dakota and that's why he wanted to create this campground?
Yeah, well, so Sturgis has a long history. 1938, I believe, is when it was started by Pappy Hoyle, and he was a Jack Pine gypsy. Many of you already know probably that history, but he threw the first party and opened that up by busting through a wall of flames, and then had 9 of his friends come out. And the Buffalo Chip came around controversially when City of Sturgis decided, hey, this is more trouble than it's worth, and we're gonna kick people outside of City Park. So Rod started a campground 3 miles outside. It's 4 miles outside of town, and invited people to show up. The joke is that we, took down the 3 strands of barbed wire and opened it up and let people in. Yeah. And, when you say our family's passion for motorcycles, how it turned into the Buffalo Chip today is, it just comes down to fun. And I think, if you're having fun on that thing, great.
Okay,
Are you,
that's awesome.
are you having fun after you get off that thing? No, well, let's change that. And so Buffalo Chip Rod brought music and motorcycles together for the first time in Sturgis back in 1982. And we've been going since.
Well, like I was telling you prior to our conversation, so this year was the first time I ever went to Sturgis, and I definitely had a lot of fun. I mean, I've never been to a concert because I've always been a huge concert goer. I've never been to a concert where there's motorcycles in the crowd, they're revving their engines. So that's definitely a very unique thing that most people probably have never seen. So the 2023 year, it's done and dusted. Talk to me about the rose of it all and the thorns of it all. What did you experience this year?
Yeah, well, let's get the thorn out of the way, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
If you were there, you know that 2023, we had dreamt up like this great opening day, which was a kickoff party with the moto meetup, and then a motorcycle parade to the amphitheater, a smash through the wall of 1,240 cans of Monster Energy, and then a grand finale of the first day of ZZ Top. The reality is, wah, wah. What really happened was the welcoming party this year was a thorny whip across the ass with 3 days of nonstop, never-ending rain, a
Yes.
pause, and then another nonstop ending uh, rain. So they say how you walk through the fire is, and how you deal with the prick of the thorn, as you'd say, is what matters. So the thorn, though, fortunately, was when it dried up, turned into the rose, which is a kind of a nice analogy you placed there. Um, was that we had a tremendous, I mean, just an amazing Deathwire Daredevil spectacular day. And what that was Sean Ives had proposed doing a ramp to ramp jump that had turned into him volunteering Blake Walenda, who is a wire walker, and his son Kyle Ives, a freestyle motocross jumper, to jump over the top of Blake while he wire walked across the amphitheater. And then it grew into having the Drifter Co. guys doing stunts and the South Dakota Drifter cars doing stunts. And then because I couldn't do the monster wall smash on the first day, I got to be part of the day of stunts, and Joe Milky and I, regular size Joe, smashed through the 1,200 cans of Monster Energy that day. And so, I mean, because of those first few days, the thorn turn made the rose even nicer. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really great time because I was there and was able to see all of that and the monster wall. That was crazy. And then your dad was the one who knocked it down, the whole wall.
Oh man, that was so disappointing, but I'm glad you were there to see that. Yeah,
It,
we need witnesses.
it was like it was crazy. So I was very close to it too. And when the big couch was going over, it got caught on
Yeah.
the fireworks, and I was scared I was getting hit. But it was that was a really cool experience because I do believe you were right out front, right, with the big helmet, and then you hit it.
Yeah, so Joe and I modified our little mini bikes because this is a mini bike thing, and then we had a whole parade of mini bikes for the people listening that don't know what's going on here. We built a monster wall of 12 of Monster Energy cans, 1,240 Monster Wall cans, which is about 60, 50 cases, I think, of Monster. And then somebody asked Rod to take a picture in front of the Monster Wall. And he leaned back after it was built and knocked the entire thing over. We didn't think we were going to be able to pull it off. And then we did. We rebuilt it. But the parade, we had fireworks going. There was a parade, a motorized couch. There was a motorized Sea-Doo. There was, what else was going on? The ornery one was dressed up like Elvis. There was probably 20 or so modified mini bikes that followed us through the smash. And so what happened was there was a steamroller at the end that was going to come finish the job, and the motorized couch got stuck on the pile of Monster, which sounds like you were there to witness.
Yes.
And the firework was underneath the couch and it was going to catch it on fire. And Tanner ran out and saved the girl off the couch and helped pull the couch out of the way as the steamroller came through. But you were getting hit by what? You were getting hit by fireworks and sprayed
Yeah, a
cans?
little bit
Yeah.
of fireworks. So I'm like, you know what? I should probably run from this. But it was a very fond moment for me. That's for sure, being so close to it and seeing all this happening. So speaking of fond moments, and
Yeah.
I feel like, you've probably seen so much being so heavily involved with this event. So what are some of your early memories and experiences that kind of made you want to be involved with what you're doing and continue on with this family tradition?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, kind of growing up as humans, we have a tendency to take things for granted. I mean, I grew up out there, and when you're pure with youth and ignorance, you kind of like form some opinions like, I'm above 80s spandex or traditional rock and roll or whatever. And growing up the chip, it was no different for me. It was like social distortion or I'll make fun of it. Pretty tunnel visioned. But looking back on it, like the unique experiences out there is just like this weird band of misfits that come together for the summer
Yeah.
and let our inner children run free and run wild. And well, I think probably the fondest memories is, I mean, I got lots of them over decades here. So, but really the fondest is just all the friends and people I've met and the friendships I've made. Um, yeah, I could go on about, Hank Rotten and Ross doing sleeping with my butt to the wall 3 times a night every night, and just that song being ingrained from in my memories. Those are great. But or Camp Zero, when we created Camp Zero, we had Cosmo, pretty strong guy, hold up a board. We were trying to set a mood and a precedent for what Camp Zero was going to represent. So we had the flaunt girls do back bends with their legs in the air and lit fireworks, and Cosmo head up the jump ramp while I jumped over Walter. Like there's so many instances and so many stories to be told, but it really comes down to real human connection. Like my fondest memories are the people that I've met, the friends I've made, the time we've spent together. And it's if you take the moment to step outside of that puritanical moment of youth, or what our expectations tell us Sturgis Motorcycle Rally or Sturgis Buffalo's chip's going to be, and you go do it.
Mhm.
And there's real milestones and memories to be had. Every year is different, but Kid Rock playing in a lightning storm while the lightning struck the water tower. Keith Toby up on stage in probably the most crazy torrential downpours you've ever experienced. It's just a matter of, if you let yourself let go of the puritanical ideas that you have or the expectations you have about something, it can totally change your life. And every year out there to me is like fond memories and life changing moments.
I like that perspective a lot, just like letting go and just almost not having any expectations and just going to see where it takes you. And I think that's a really good perspective, not only to have in your work life, but just your general life. So I like that you take that from everything that you've been doing and why you continue to do it. And I'm sure bringing in, because you deal with concerts, so I'm sure you try your best to get anybody you can, especially people that you would want to see. So I want to know, how do you curate and select the musical acts that perform at the campground, and what goes into creating this experience? Because I know you're head of all of this, and obviously you're passionate about it. You must be passionate about music, so talk to me about that.
Yeah. Well, do you know the recipe for a good time?
Positivity and just having and connecting with people. I think that would be a big recipe of it.
Man, you just hit on the two main ones, and then music,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, which you already mentioned. So, yeah, music, good people, good music, and common ground.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the conduit to real human connection and good memories. Like these memories just become the story of your life. And our four pillars are music, motorcycles, freedom, and friends.
Mm-hmm.
And music as the common thread that binds people together, in addition to motorcycles, kind of goes without saying that if I asked you your favorite concert, you'd be able to tell me what it was, and who was with you and what made it so special. Does something come to mind when I say that?
Oh,
Or
absolutely. Yeah.
what was yours?
Okay, so I think it was at a music festival in Montreal, and I saw Tame Impala, and there were so many other bands, but that one came to mind, and it was a great light show. Honestly, even Leonard Skinner, when I was at Sturgis this year, because of that whole I was telling you earlier with the motorcycles, I had never seen that before. Of course, I love motorcycles, and I was in a new environment that definitely is topped up there. So you're doing your job, obviously, and I'm not just saying that either, that I enjoyed the Leonard Skinner concert.
Yeah. Did you have some expectations coming into what it would be, and then did it alter from your expectation at all?
I really didn't have any expectations. I had an idea of what potentially would be like from what I've heard, but I kind of just went in with an open mind. And I I really enjoyed it because there was just so many like random shit that I didn't expect, and I was like, okay, this is crazy, but I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, to get to your point about music, is the criteria for when we book bands is really pretty broad in the sense is does it bring a good time?
Mhm,
Like, can people sing and dance to it? Do they know the words?
mhm,
Are they familiar with it? Additionally, we try and bring in new acts because and what are called legacy acts because the legacy acts carry those moments where, like in a high school graduation party is like Hotel California came on the radio or something like that, and the entire party stopped and sang the words to Hotel California. Those are the moments you want. You want people want the comfort of something that they're familiar with, but they also want something new. It's the constant but always different type of thing. So when we're bringing the bands together, it's meeting the criteria of something traditional and legacy mixed with something new. So you get something like Limp Bizkit with Lita Ford, which will seem really weird to a lot of people. Like, how can you pair those two together? It's because the only criteria is that they bring the party. They're
mhm,
both party music, and if you're trying to create the best party anywhere or a good time, and you're utilizing music as that common thread, the after the ride party, it meets those criteria. So it gives us just a huge the freedom of choice. We're not genre specific. A good time isn't genre specific. It's not a heavy metal. It's not country music. It might be some of both.
mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. You're trying to think outside the box too of what can bring that good time. And I think you can kind of see that with the selection because even this year you had said Limp Bizkit was there, and then you have a classic rock band like Leonard Skinner. Two different eras bringing two different people, but they kind of have the same idea of a good time and also kind of just classic music that people can appreciate and also know they're familiar with. So I like
Mhm.
that. I like that thought process on that. So, if you can have one collaboration with an artist coming to your campground and to your stage, who would be your dream musical actor performer?
I don't know about musical act. There's always been this dream for event because music and events, they're both there for the entertainment aspect of having a good time. I've always wanted to recreate the shithouse jump.
What is that?
In 1986 or something like that, this guy Rob Foley did probably because we have a history of doing stunts, which is why I mentioned the Deathwire Daredevil stunt. But he had started a shit house on fire, had dynamite underneath it, and then he took a ramp and he crashed his Dyna through it
Oh,
and landed it successfully on the other side. There's a video out there. He's dead now, but unfortunately, but in if there was a one event to relive or collaboration to redo, for some reason it's been in my mind to do the Rob Foley shithouse jump.
that's right. So, because we're Russ Brown, we always like to ask this question. Have you ever been into a motorcycle accident? And if so, what did you learn from it?
Do mini bikes count?
You know what? If that's the only accident that you've had, sure.
Yeah. I've had some uncomfortable moments, but as far as accidents go, most dangerous things are those little mini bikes.
Yeah, I can see that. It can get a little out of control.
Because they just put smiles on your face, so you think you're kind of invincible on them. You get a little wilder than you normally would. You're not out racing on, and generally speaking, the general populace isn't out racing
Mhm.
their bikes on the road. So my lesson learned from goofing around on mini bikes is really, and probably applies, is don't race if you don't know how.
Mm,
Pretty
okay.
bad, pretty bad for your health. But
Yeah.
I do think, don't you think Russ Brown should have a mini bike assistance program?
Honestly, I think anything goes. They're a lot of fun. I've even hurt myself on a pit bike, so I get it.
First thing I thought of when I tore my hip out was call BAM.
Well, I'll definitely bring that to the forefront and let them know. Maybe we can bring it to Sturgis next year.
Yeah, I think a nice niche offering for Russ Brown.
I think that's a good one too.
When
So
my mini bike breaks down, call BAM.
to pivot back to the buffalo chip in the campground, so it obviously has a rich history for over 40 years, which is crazy to think it's been so successful for that amount of time. So what sort of roles does the ground play in motorcycle culture, and what are some lesser known facts and stories about the facility that you think people would want to know and hear?
Yeah, the lesser known fact about the chip is that we work year round.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a surprising little known fact. There's a team of 20 or so that make this happen. And, although there's just the myth that we show up and open up the barbed wire fence and let everyone in on August 2nd this year, the reality is that it takes a team, a really big team, 20 during the 20 all year round and 500 during the festival to create a place for people to come and have a good time. We create the mood, we set the mood, we give them the place to come feel free and do their thing. But as long as they have a positive attitude, like you mentioned, and the dickheads stay at home, you're going to have a good party and you're going to have a good time. And the Black Hills are really what offer motorcycling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a unique place. You can't find good riding with Ironheart Mountain Road touts like 80 curves in 3 miles or something like that. And you just don't find roads like that everywhere. So the little known fact for the chip is that the heroes of the story are the people that come because they're the magic. They're the ones that create the magic. We just give you the space to create the magic. And as long as you don't bring your dickhead friends, you're good. And the riding is awesome.
Yeah, I agree. And when we were chatting before, I was telling you it was my first time riding out there. I was on a Harley, and yeah, it was beautiful. There's so many turns and going over to Mount Rushmore. It really is just a whole collective experience in that whole general area. So, with all that said, what is one of the biggest lessons you've learned about building a successful business and preserving a sense of tradition with this community?
Yeah, I mean the most profound lesson is making it like if your business and your personal missions align, you're more likely to be good at it,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're just making it up as you go. So if you want whatever your gift to the world is, if you make it a mission, you're going to be good at it. And really that's what we're trying to do. We've made giving people a place to escape the doldrums of everyday life. Come leave all that behind. Put a smile on your face. Smiles are contagious. Smiles create positivity and improve the world and make you a better person. How you walk through the fire, how you deal with the thorn that pricks you. For 4 days of rain, you can either get real mad that you're backed up in an RV and have to sleep in a parking lot because that's what happened until it dried up, or you can get in a mud fight or go mud sliding or play in the mud because the reality is mud washes off. And I think probably those are the most profound lessons is like ask yourself, what do you want to gift the world? Make it your mission in your personal life and in your business life, and you'll end up being good at it.
Yeah, I like that. And I think it kind of ties back to what you were saying earlier. Don't really have expectations. Of course, put something on the plate for an event, but there's always going to be shit coming in that's going to mess things up. And you got to be prepared for that. And then it is what it is and it ain't what it ain't and go with it. Roll with the punches.
Yeah.
So,
Seem
oh,
like
sorry.
you're
You are.
experienced at that.
I mean, I would say I'm a very adaptable person. Like it is what it is. Like there's so many things that have you don't have control of, and weather being one of them for Sturgis this year. So
Yeah,
that's life. That is life.
yeah.
So what is on the horizon for next year's event? Could you give us any trade secrets?
Just one.
Just one, let's hear it.
What's on the horizon for next year's event? One trade secret,
Yes.
no rain.
Yeah. Hey, we can't expect that. Come on, we just said that. No expectations.
Our objective is to give something new while also give something consistent. We've provided and people trust us enough to know that there's a party coming and it's going to be a good one. Trust us to be consistent there. For 43 years, we've done it. And then we'll be looking at, you know, finding new stunts, finding new acts, finding new bands, mixing those in with some of the familiars, coming up with new fun events. Last year, we created the Creator Hangout, which we made the content creators put rubber bands around a watermelon, and the first one to get to explode won, right? Whatever it is, little things, big things, the Deathwire Daredevil Spectacular. Hopefully, some ideas come out of some stunts with Sean Ives and Kyle Ives and Blake Wallinda. Perhaps we'll have some sort of a stunt day. You never know. But we are about to announce some bands, some new, and we're waiting on confirmations. We're told that we will have those on Monday. We'll see.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I think everyone also tuning in will be looking forward to it. So I guess we'll wait until next year or in a couple of weeks to at least hear what the next lineup is or who the next lineup's going to be. So I think we're looking forward to that. So thank you so much, Damon, for your time today and shedding some light on what you do behind the scenes that has made such an amazing event, a renowned event that, almost everyone in the community knows about. So thank you for sharing all the trade secrets of what you do.
Well, I wouldn't say all. That's but you'll be there next year to join us.
I hope so. I mean, I had my first time this year. Why not go a second time? I had a lot of fun.
And what were your thoughts going into it?
My thoughts, I had kind of said this before. I didn't really have a lot of expectations because I didn't fully know what to expect. I just had heard, oh, it's a fun time. There's random crazy things. And I didn't know what those random crazy things were. And I saw them and I'm like, this is crazy. I like this because I'm a little crazy. So this is great.
What was a good example of one?
Okay,
Caught
so
you,
one of
caught
them
you sideways.
it was in the campground. It was, I think it's called the Titty Bar. It's like this woman, I think it's a woman who hosts it. She comes every year and sets this up. Like I've never heard of that before. That's so random. I'm like, all right, this is happening. So that was probably the most random.
Okay. I don't dare ask what happened at that bar, but
You know what? I was forced there. So
and did any of your inhibitions or your alter egos come out while you were there?
you know what? Not really. I'm a pretty tame person. I don't really drink. I don't do any drugs really. So I was just kind of myself.
Yeah, but you were one of the faces on the Ride TV
Yes,
broadcast that covered the event.
yes.
Can you, if I'm gonna turn the switch over to you, what was your experience there?
I loved it. It was great talking with the community, and just talking with, just random people on why they were there. And you really got to dig deep on their experiences, which was really cool, and see a lot of cool bikes, especially if you appreciate the industry. And we were talking about this before in the interview, just, connecting. So that was, yeah, that was probably one of my favorite things to do because I love doing that. I love talking with people and having a genuine conversation. So that was one of my favorite things.
Oh, good. And so you did interview a lot of people that just showed up. Did you
Yeah.
meet first timers or any veterans, or and what was kind of like the difference you think there?
So, it was a whole mixed bag of people. just people that rode out from Florida, or there was some bike shop owners. Yeah, truly just random mixed bags. Some people who are in like white collar positions too that were running like OEM stamps because I would go down to the Sturgis downtown. So
Mhm.
yeah, no, it was really cool. I actually really loved working with rides. So I hope they'll bring me back for next year.
Oh, good. I'm glad you got to come.
Yeah, thank you so much.